Hey, what's up? This is Alternate Dimension here. Today we're returning to the series where we check out various #Techwear influencer tier brands to determine whether they're worth enjoying or avoiding. Generally the theme has been very overtly cyberpunk looking stuff that might seem cool at a glance, but all comes with varying reasons why you probably wouldn't want to buy it. This week, we have Indonesian brand Machine56 in the spotlight. In many ways, they occupy a similar space to Holy Grail that we looked at before. They promise very futuristic clothing, adorned with all kinds of graphical elements that wouldn't be out of place on the side of a wipeout ship. Not to mention the obligatory abundance of straps, pockets, and other such details. But will they fall into the same pitfalls as Holy Grail, or maybe provide something a tier above? Let's find out. Now, Machine56 has been around for quite a few years, and in that time they've made a bunch of different things. Not only jackets, pants, tees, hoodies, but some accessories and decorative items as well. Most notably, these limited run helmets, which come in at $750. Luckily though, most of their gear is far more affordable than that. Pretty much everything comes under $200. And I wanted to check out something that was both pretty substantial, so we have something interesting to actually look at, and one of the more recent products so that we get the best idea of what Machine56 is capable of. Scrolling around the website, which is pretty clear and has a decent selection, gave me a few potential options like this bomber jacket or these pants, but I wanted something slightly different to what we've covered before, leading me to this right here, the FLV1A20D jacket. Acronym clearly not the only brand coming up with nuclear launch codes for their product names. This retailed at $145, making it fairly reasonable in the grand scheme of things, although shipping to the UK did add an extra $48, which was a little bit painful, but nonetheless, I knew what I had to do and smashed that MF order button. Quite surprised to find that within a week my jacket showed up, which is far quicker than what we've come to expect from these kinds of brands. Inside the package we have a branded dust bag which was holding the jacket itself, a bit of a better size than the Holy Grail one, although still a little bit too small to use as a proper tote bag I think, and there are a few other goodies as well. There was this little printed card that you see here, and there was a fun little rubber keyring as well, which wouldn't look out of place attached to some kind of technical or futuristic looking bag or other accessory. You'll notice that I didn't film myself unboxing this one, unlike in the Holy Grail video, because that isn't actually a requirement. Although they do still have a slightly unusual refund policy. They say no refunds, you can only exchange for something of equal or lesser value within 5 hours of the purchase date. I don't know if that's a mistake, 5 hours seems a bit strange to me. Because it also says in the next paragraph that they accept returns within 14 days, you just have to pay the shipping to return it. Now, a couple of people let me know in the last video that Indonesia apparently has a bit of a problem with people ordering things and then claiming that they didn't arrive to get their money back and generally scamming businesses. So that explains the weird refund policies here. But it's worth bearing in mind if you're a US or a European buyer, purchasing something from a local retailer is going to incur less risk than one of these kinds of brands. And even when you can return things, paying $50 to refund your $150 item really sucks. I assume that no refunds paragraph is meant to dissuade people from ordering and then claiming that their package never arrived and getting a refund on that basis, but it's not 100% clear. But enough policy nonsense, you care about how the jacket actually looks and feels. I've got it right here, let's get it on and we'll find out.
Do I have to? It's so hot.
Sorry, I don't make the rules, it's jacket time.
1, 2, 3. Okay, let's go, I'm ready.
And here it is. As you can see, it's a pretty full-featured shell in black and green with the typical heavy application of graphic motifs. I don't think it fits me too badly. I went for a size M based on the measurements on the site, which is my usual size, and it's fine on the length and the width, although a little bit snug potentially on the shoulders. In my opinion, they definitely should have had more comprehensive measurements because they only list a length and a width. Nonetheless, this seems closer to US sizing than many other Asian brands, but I would still recommend checking measurements before you order anything from them against a jacket that you know that fits you well, because this one in particular does seem to come up a little bit bigger than many of the other jackets on their site. Now let's take a tour around some of the features here. The hand pockets are a decent size and they're reasonably placed, and more importantly, there are some large chest pockets running parallel to the zip, which give these a pretty decent capacity. All of them use waterproof zips, although they're not YKK branded or anything, so I don't really know where they're from. You'll also see a mid-sized internal pocket, which is easily big enough to fit a smartphone in. So from that perspective, we're looking pretty good. And they all have this nylon interior, which is a little bit cheap feeling, but it does make the pocket interior more comfortable. I've said before, the design of the hood is a bit of a weather vane as to how well designed a jacket is generally. I think the hood in this instance it's okay. It does actually have 2-point adjustment, which is better than I expected, so you can lock this down over your face a little bit, although I found that it wasn't quite big enough, so this didn't really work particularly well, and it wasn't massively comfortable when it was on. It can sit a little bit awkwardly with the jacket fully done up too. Overall, the most succinct way I can put it is that it's not really on par with the hood of a performance jacket, and it's not packable or removable either. That said, it's still far from the worst hood that I've ever seen on a jacket. There are a couple more clues as to this not being intended as a piece of performance outerwear. There are a few bits like the hem and cuff adjustment, which is quite nice, but you'll also see there's not a massive amount of ventilation. There are these very, very tiny holes, no armpit zips or anything like that. And some of the hardware feels a little bit cheap and plasticky. As I say, they're not using YKK stuff, so it's probably a cheaper version of that. And there's no taped seams or anything like that, which of course is going to limit its all-weather performance. You might be wondering, what does the chest strap do? I know it looks like a pull to inflate life jacket type thing. It is of course just decorative, but something that I thought was interesting is that if you flip up the panel, it looks like it is just one long cord, but in fact the bottom section is a mini lanyard that you can disconnect and attach to something else if you like. So if you think the whole look with the dangly strap is a little bit too much, you can actually get rid of that. I think it's nice that you have some options there to reduce the visual flair a little bit if you want to. And visual flair is certainly important, and if you weren't a fan of the J1 GTKP, then you're definitely not going to be in favour of the large number of graphic details and embellishments on this jacket. Who's ready to go cyber hacker bad boy mode in one of these?
Just a few more seconds and I'll be in the mainframe.
Taking a closer look, it looks like they've been heat transferred on, but all the graphics are fairly sharp looking. They look like they've been well applied as well. I can't just like peel any of them away. Not sure how they'll fare long term after repeated washes and stuff like that, but that is the case of pretty much any product with graphics on. Low spin, low temperature, and inside out is your friend. I do think this kind of graphic work falls a little bit into cringe territory with all of the Japanese text and the very on-the-nose retro-futuristic designs, but I also have to appreciate that the designer of this brand is a graphic designer by trade and all of this stuff is his work. And at an individual level, all of those little graphic details and motifs do represent the cyberpunk aesthetic very effectively. The result is pretty well-trodden ground in terms of cyberpunk looks, and it's certainly a bit too maximalist for me, but also it's clearly higher effort than a lot of the other things in this space. We're not just talking someone's designed a logo, called it a day and put it everywhere, but there are a lot of unique graphics which are all designed along the same kinds of lines, and I think that work definitely comes across. And then even going into smaller areas, we've got this little card of course that came with the product. You know, this is not just a logo, this is loads of different stuff that they've done. Interior labels, an exterior label on the jacket, even the shipping bag that this came in had some M56 graphic details as well. So that cohesion really does run through everything to do with the product. I really hope that whatever this says is not some edgy hacker phrase and it's just something really inoffensive and weird, like I love puppies or something. There's a few bits on here that say 20XX as well, which I'd like to think is a niche Smash Bros. Melee meme reference. Ultimately, this is such a big part of the brand that whether you like or dislike this clothing is going to weigh very heavily on how you feel about all this graphic stuff. But I do have to say that it looks like more care and attention has gone into it than a lot of the similar brands in this space. The only criticism I have from a cohesion perspective is the little tag on the collar is not the same color as the chest strap. It's very close, which makes it look like they're meant to be the same color, but yeah, it just looks like something went slightly wrong there. I thought the dual layered design was an interesting touch. It's not really something I've seen too often in jackets. On the website, it looks pretty striking. It's almost like someone's wearing two jackets, but I think in person, the result is a little bit more subtle. It does have a Velcro closure on the back, which is a little bit odd. I think this is just their solution for stopping that back from like flapping around in the wind or something. But giving the jacket an extra physical layer like this helps make it more interesting and elevates it past sort of regular windbreaker with some graphics printed on, which is absolutely welcome. And crucially, it does that without this physical element getting in the way or being annoying at all. One other example of that we haven't talked about yet is on the arm. You've got this arm sleeve detail which gives you an extra pocket, as if you really needed that, and some extra graphic detail as well. It attaches via a Velcro loop on each shoulder, so you can pick what side you want this, or, similar to the chest strap, remove it entirely. Another thing that makes the jacket a little bit more maximalist, but you can remove it for a 1% more understated look. It is a little bit hard for me to test performance, breathability, comfort, stuff like that, because it has been unseasonably warm in the UK, and wearing any kind of jacket like this long term is a death sentence. You know things are bad when even I am posting outfit pics without jackets to Instagram. It is DWR treated and water resistant, which is a good start. It does feel a bit clammy compared to performance fabrics though, as you might expect. It's definitely not the most breathable thing in the world, although at least with a jacket you have the option of taking it off. Either way, just because this looks like a jacket, I definitely would not consider this a replacement to a performance shell of any kind. You're not going to want to wear this doing outdoor activities for long periods of time. Even filming this footage, by the end I was noticeably pretty sweaty, and taking this off I had like actual moisture inside, which is never good.
Can confirm I'm a little bit sweaty, but that's okay, we've got to suffer for the content.
Definitely not something you want a couple of hours into a nice hike. The material is nylon both on the outside and the inside. The outside is of course thicker, still kind of smooth feeling. It has that slight kind of artificial scratchy kind of feel about it, with the interior lining being a lot softer. The interior is very thin feeling. It's a little bit sort of cheap feeling. Again, I suppose that's to be expected, and it is definitely welcome because it's a lot nicer feeling next to skin than the outer stuff is. It feels how it sounds, if that makes sense. I know we're not necessarily comparing like with like because we're looking at a jacket here rather than pants, but to me, Machine56 definitely feels like more of a legitimate brand than Holy Grail. It has much more interesting graphic work, it does all the stuff you would expect from a jacket. The parts that are designed just for looks, things like that chest strap or the little arm shoulder detail, doesn't get in the way of actually using and wearing this. So more considered from that perspective, and while there are certainly areas where you get the sense that this is a bit of a budget item, like some of the material usage, some of the hardware, maybe some of those missing features, and of course the all too common issue of low breathability in these kinds of products, it seems like a better pickup overall than those Holy Grail pants. I also think the brand is pretty honest and consistent in presenting itself as cyberpunk infused streetwear. It's not necessarily trying to be more than that. So yes, it clearly is a streetwear product and not a performance one. If you want to do any outdoor activities, you certainly wouldn't be wearing this. Go check out North Face or Patagonia. They'll have things at this kind of price point that will be more suitable and better for long-term wear. Based on the cost, you're definitely getting what you can expect with this, and it feels like you're getting something that has a bit of its own identity, which is more than can be said for those various sort of drop-shipped products, which all kind of look exactly the same. That said, I would only really consider this jacket if the graphics and the aesthetic the brand presents generally really speak to you. That's clearly the most valuable thing here, and one of the big things that really differentiates this from the various other products that are in this kind of price point. So all in all, it's not for me, but I do think it's one of the better brands that we've looked at in this series. Would love to hear what you think about them though, if you've got any impressions about this jacket or Machine56 generally, or especially if you've actually owned any of this stuff before. The more people can add their kind of thoughts or reviews in the comments, the more helpful this video can be. So massive thanks if you are able to do that. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like, because that is massively helpful for me. Do consider subscribing if you want to see more stuff like this. We've got more comparisons and other fun stuff coming up soon. And as always, I'll catch you very soon in the next one.